Pause for a moment, slow yourself down, take a deep breath, and listen carefully in complete silence, because the reason you are here at this exact moment is not simply random. There are no accidents in the way certain messages find us when we need them the most. The universe does not create mistakes, and even the systems around us that seem completely mechanical can respond to the energetic patterns created by your strongest intentions, emotions, and desires. While you have continued questioning everything inside your mind, wondering if this person still thinks about you, wondering if there is something unfinished between the two of you, or fearing that the connection has been permanently damaged, something significant has already shifted beneath the surface. A powerful transformation has taken place, but it did not happen through a conversation you heard, a message appearing on your screen, or a clear physical sign placed directly in front of you. Instead, it happened through a quiet, internal decision made somewhere beyond what your eyes can see. There was a moment when something changed within this person. A private realization, a silent understanding, a choice that was created in a place where nobody else could witness it. Your spirit needs to understand this invisible movement because it holds meaning for the direction your journey is about to take. If something inside you feels that this message is reaching you personally, leave a like so this message can find someone else who may also need this reminder. For many days, perhaps even for several weeks, you may have felt a strange pressure inside your chest, a feeling of waiting for something you cannot explain, a quiet concern that stays with you even when you try to focus on other things. You may feel as though you are expecting an answer, a sign, or some form of communication that never arrives, leaving the situation feeling incomplete and uncertain. But this sensation inside your body, the heaviness in your heart, the feeling in your throat, and those unexpected moments when you wake during the night are not simply meaningless thoughts created by your imagination. They are signs that something within your emotional and spiritual awareness has noticed a change before your physical reality has been able to reveal it. The person who continues appearing in your thoughts, the person whose memory returns during ordinary moments of your day, is no longer standing in the same place of confusion and hesitation. They are no longer trapped in that space where every possibility exists but no real decision is made. Something inside them has started moving. Something has begun changing. Recently, during a quiet night when they could not distract themselves, or during a moment of complete solitude when they were forced to face their own thoughts, they finally looked deeper into their feelings. They examined what they truly wanted, what they were afraid of, and what direction they genuinely wanted to move toward. This decision did not come from a temporary emotion, fear of loneliness, or a simple desire for comfort. It came from something much deeper, something connected to the truth they could no longer ignore. Some connections carry a weight that cannot be easily erased. Some bonds continue calling for attention, no matter how much distance is created. Souls that are meant to cross paths cannot avoid their lessons forever. People can create distance, they can choose silence, they can build emotional walls, and they can behave as if they feel nothing at all. They can pretend that separation has removed the connection completely. But eventually, every person reaches a point where the emotions they have buried become too strong to ignore. There comes a moment when the pressure created by unspoken feelings becomes greater than the fear of facing the truth. This is the invisible force you may be sensing right now. This restless feeling, this unusual awareness, and this constant reminder of them may exist because your energy is still connected with theirs in a way that goes beyond physical circumstances. Distance does not always destroy a meaningful connection. Time apart does not always mean the end. Silence does not always mean someone has forgotten. Even painful words, misunderstandings, and moments of separation cannot always remove a bond that has touched something deeper within both people. When a decision is created from the deepest part of someone's being, the other person often senses the change without needing logical evidence. This is why their voice suddenly enters your mind during normal activities. This is why memories appear while you are working, relaxing, or doing something completely unrelated. This is why their image can appear in your dreams, even when you have tried to move your attention somewhere else. This experience is not simply obsession, and it is not proof that you are unable to move forward. it may represent a powerful emotional connection that still carries energy and meaning. Something within you recognizes that the invisible communication between two people can continue even when there is no physical conversation happening. Comment below if you feel that this person has already reached a decision within themselves, even if they have not yet shown it openly. Many people misunderstand deep connections because they believe that true love, destiny, or spiritual bonds should always feel easy, peaceful, and effortless, like the perfect stories we see in movies. But the reality of deep emotional connections is often completely different. Real connections challenge us. They disturb old patterns. They bring uncomfortable emotions to the surface. They reveal hidden wounds that we would rather ignore. They force people to look honestly at themselves and question the choices they have been making. While there has been distance between you and this person, they have been placed in a position where they had to face their own reflection. Without the usual distractions, without the ability to hide behind familiar behaviors, they had to ask themselves difficult questions. Were they going to continue running away from what they truly felt? Were they going to continue avoiding the reality of the connection? Or would they finally find the courage to accept what their heart has been trying to show them? Even though you may not see immediate changes in the outside world, a decision can already exist internally. The unseen world often moves before the physical world follows. What has been accepted within the heart eventually searches for a way to appear in reality. The physical circumstances around you may seem unchanged right now, but that does not mean nothing is happening. Sometimes the greatest shifts begin quietly, away from public attention, before they become visible to everyone. Nothing can permanently block what is genuinely aligned with a person's deepest intentions. When the inner desire and the right timing come together, the outer reality begins to reflect what has already been created within. This message is not here to create false expectations or keep you trapped in endless waiting. It is here to help you understand that some periods of separation are not always endings. Sometimes they are preparation. Sometimes they are moments where both people are being changed, healed, and guided toward a clearer understanding. This silence is not necessarily abandonment. It can be a period of inner organization, a necessary space where this person needed time to understand the depth of what they feel and decide whether they were ready to face it. When you stop allowing fear to control your thoughts and begin listening to your deeper awareness, you start recognizing that your emotions and intuition often reveal things your logical mind cannot immediately understand. The unusual combination of peace and anticipation you feel may be your inner self recognizing something before your circumstances have fully shown it. That strange calm mixed with expectation can appear when something within you believes a change is approaching. When tears suddenly come to your eyes, when the heaviness inside your chest begins to disappear, or when an old emotional pain starts becoming lighter, it can represent a process of healing taking place within you. You are not waiting for someone who is completely lost and uncertain. You are experiencing a chapter of transformation where everything is being rearranged so that whatever is meant to happen can unfold in the way it needs to. This individual's separation was not a sudden decision or a random thought that appeared in a single moment, but rather the outcome of a long, silent, and often lonely internal battle between what their heart was truly recognizing and what their conditioned mind convinced them they needed to do in order to move forward. For a long period of time, they tried to convince themselves through logical explanations that they could continue their life without looking back. They kept their mind occupied with endless responsibilities, temporary distractions, meaningless activities, and even connections with other people, hoping these things would erase what they still felt deep inside. But nothing was able to remove the constant awareness that something remained unfinished between you. It was like a door that had been left open, one they could not completely close no matter how much effort they put into trying to walk away. Comment connected if you believe your souls are still deeply connected even through the silence. A person can try to ignore a genuine connection or bury it beneath noise and distractions, but something real cannot simply disappear. Every failed attempt to escape only brings this individual closer to the unavoidable moment where they must finally make a choice. Slowly, they began to feel the heavy pressure of living in a way that did not match who they truly were. They started understanding that the emptiness they carried was created by their own inner resistance toward what their heart already knew about you. Rejecting this connection demanded too much from their emotional energy. It slowly took away their peace, their balance, and their ability to maintain the false reality they had created for themselves. Eventually, continuing to pretend that nothing meaningful existed between you became impossible. If there were nights when you blamed yourself, wondering whether you gave too much love, showed too much care, or opened your heart too deeply, you need to release that burden of guilt. Their distance was not caused by the amount of love you offered. It happened because, at that specific time, they were not emotionally prepared to handle the intensity and depth of what they were experiencing with you. This individual had to confront deeply rooted fears within themselves. They struggled with the fear of losing control over the life they carefully built, the fear of becoming emotionally exposed, and the fear of reopening painful chapters from their past that they never wanted to experience again. They created distance not because they felt nothing, but because they felt something so powerful that it became overwhelming for someone who was not familiar with facing such deep emotions. As time continued passing, the things around them started losing their previous excitement. The distractions that once helped them avoid their feelings no longer had the same effect. They began realizing that creating distance, delaying honesty, and avoiding the truth only increased their regret and created a stronger sense of longing. They started seeing that what happened between you was not an ordinary encounter. It was a meaningful meeting that created a clear turning point in their personal journey. It became the moment that encouraged them to stop fighting against their own inner voice and accept a connection that did not follow ordinary patterns. Type yes if you want me to reveal more signs that their decision is becoming real. You remain the powerful influence behind this transformation, and this is why you may have recently felt a strange emotional tiredness within yourself. You are beginning to release the intense need to control how everything will happen or when the outcome will appear. This feeling is not weakness, failure, or sadness. It represents a deeper level of growth where you are learning to trust the connection and allowing the energy between you to move naturally. Do not expect that everything will change instantly, because the path of meaningful love is rarely a straight road without challenges, adjustments, or periods of silence. Sometimes those quiet moments are necessary because they allow both people to heal, understand themselves, and complete the inner changes required before moving forward. The biggest difference now is that the uncertainty has started disappearing. When the heart truly chooses something, that inner force naturally begins moving toward honesty, just like a river that eventually finds its way to the ocean. Even while they manage their daily responsibilities and close old situations they previously lacked the courage to complete, they may still be gathering the strength needed to act on what they have accepted inside. But they are no longer lost between confusion and avoidance. They are no longer running without understanding why. They are beginning to recognize the truth of their emotions and allowing that awareness to change their entire perspective. Meaningful love often arrives after difficult lessons because those experiences help both individuals grow during periods of separation and silence. These challenges guide both sides toward a more mature, aware, and authentic version of themselves. You have also transformed through this journey. You have learned to trust your intuition, establish healthier boundaries, and understand the incredible value you possess simply by being who you are. Nothing you experienced was meaningless. Every tear, every moment of uncertainty, and every night spent questioning the situation was part of a greater process of personal transformation. Now that process is moving into a new phase where their inner realization begins to align with your own growth. You must develop the ability to recognize movement in the unseen before it becomes visible in the physical world. Understand that their original withdrawal was never truly about your worth or your actions. It was connected to their own hidden struggles and the parts of themselves they had not yet faced. You caused yourself pain by believing you were not enough, or that their feelings had simply disappeared. But the deeper truth is that this individual stepped away because being close to you made it impossible for them to continue hiding from themselves. This connects with what psychology and thinkers like Carl Jung describe as the shadow, the hidden place within us where fears, insecurities, unresolved emotions, and rejected parts of ourselves are stored because we are afraid to reveal them to the world. Before they met you, this individual kept that hidden side protected behind a carefully created image. They moved through everyday life while avoiding the deeper wounds and emotions they carried beneath the surface. But your presence became like a powerful light entering a dark room. It created a strong reflection that allowed them to see themselves more clearly than ever before. You became a mirror where they could no longer avoid the truth of who they were. When they looked at you, they did not only see your beauty, kindness, or the love you offered, they also saw the unresolved pieces of their own life reflected back at them. Your ability to love deeply revealed their fear of vulnerability. Your honesty exposed the stories they had created to protect themselves. Your courage to embrace emotions highlighted the walls they had built around their own heart. It is important that you truly understand this so you can finally stop blaming yourself for the distance between you. A light that appears suddenly and shines with incredible intensity can be overwhelming for someone who has spent their entire life living in the shadows. When brightness becomes too powerful, the natural reaction is to close your eyes and retreat to the familiar darkness. That is exactly why this person stepped away. It was not because you lacked value, but because being fully seen felt unfamiliar and overwhelming. Their usual emotional defenses stopped working, leaving them feeling exposed and vulnerable in ways they had never experienced before. Their ego interpreted this openness as a serious threat to the control and protection it had relied on for so many years. Because they could not fully understand or explain why such emotional depth frightened them, they responded with silence, mixed signals, and vague explanations that left you carrying confusion instead of clarity. As Carl Jung once suggested, true awareness begins when the hidden parts of ourselves are brought into consciousness. In many ways, your presence became the catalyst that encouraged them to face parts of themselves they had avoided for a very long time. Comment shadow if you felt they were doing deep inner work even while the two of you were apart. By creating this physical distance, you unknowingly removed their ability to blame the relationship for everything they were feeling. They were eventually left with no choice but to recognize that the emotional conflict had always existed within themselves. The silence became an echo chamber where they had to confront fears of abandonment, feelings of not being enough, and long-standing habits of self-sabotage that had quietly shaped their life for years. What appeared to be emotional coldness or indifference toward you was actually an exhausting internal struggle to dismantle a false identity that had protected them for a very long time. After experiencing the extraordinary depth of the connection you shared, returning to shallow conversations and emotionally empty relationships was no longer possible. The distance served as a necessary pause, preventing the relationship from becoming unhealthy while they were not yet emotionally prepared, allowing both of you the opportunity to heal personal wounds without causing lasting damage to one another. Now that the hidden aspects of themselves have begun to emerge into conscious awareness, the enormous amount of energy they once invested in building emotional walls and pushing people away has been released. That same life force has completely shifted direction. Instead of fueling escape, it is now moving toward acceptance, openness, and a willingness to embrace the connection. This person no longer sees the love you offered as something that threatens their independence. Instead, they now recognize it as a doorway leading toward genuine inner freedom. They have come to understand that the real prison was never the relationship. It was the limitations they created within themselves. The bond you share has become the key that unlocks a new understanding of life, representing a complete transformation in the way they perceive both themselves and the world around them. Where they once saw danger, they now recognize safety. Where they once felt compelled to walk away, they now feel a quiet but undeniable pull to return to where everything truly began. In the language of the soul, that beginning is the unique energy that only your connection creates. It is essential for you to realize that you did nothing wrong by loving deeply or expressing your emotions honestly. That intensity was necessary. Without that powerful awakening, this individual would likely have remained emotionally asleep. You became the powerful storm that cleared away years of emotional stagnation. And now that the storm inside them has passed, the landscape of their mind is beginning to clear, revealing a completely different perspective than the one they once held. The decision we spoke about earlier is now emerging from this new awareness. It is no longer the frightened inner child or the wounded version of themselves making the choice. Instead, it is the wiser, more mature spirit stepping forward to take responsibility. It is someone who has looked directly at their own shadow, accepted it, and decided that genuine love carries greater strength than fear ever could. Type 1 deserve if you are ready to receive this love and confirmation. This inner transformation cannot always be seen with ordinary eyes, yet it is incredibly powerful beneath the surface. When someone stops resisting the direction their life is trying to take, tremendous energy is released. Because you are connected to this person through invisible threads of shared emotions, meaningful experiences, and deep memories, you naturally become one of the first to sense this energetic shift. That explains why your anxiety has begun to soften. That is why you sometimes feel their presence even when there are no messages, no phone calls, and no outward signs of communication. The emotional barrier that once separated the two of you has begun to weaken. Just as water held behind a dam rushes forward the moment the barrier breaks, the emotions this individual has finally acknowledged within themselves are now seeking a path back toward you. But before you can fully receive this renewed flow, you must first recognize how this changing reality is already revealing itself within your everyday life. Now that their hidden emotions have surfaced, and the resistance they once carried has started to dissolve, the energy that was previously invested in running away has completely changed direction. Instead of creating distance, it is gradually moving toward reconnection, and your own body is often the first place where this subtle shift is felt. Now that we have explored how this person's emotional resistance has begun to fall away, and how their energy is no longer focused on escape, but instead on finding the path back, it becomes important to understand how this profound transformation begins to appear within ordinary daily experiences. Because this is something you should remember deeply. Shifts that occur on the energetic level rarely happen without creating some form of response in the person who shares that connection. Your phone may remain silent. Their social media may reveal nothing new. There may still be no visible signs that anything has changed. Yet beneath the surface, the invisible connection that links two deeply connected souls has already begun transmitting countless signals at remarkable speed. Even before words are spoken or actions become visible, something within you starts recognizing that the energy between you is no longer the same. Long before physical reality reflects the change, the unseen bond quietly begins preparing both hearts for what is gradually unfolding.